Andre Morrison sat in his car on a quiet, empty street at night. The dashboard dimly illuminated his tired face. His phone glowed softly in his lap, the rideshare app casting light across his worn features. Empty food containers and a cold coffee cup lay scattered on the passenger seat. The air inside the car was cold, carrying the faint mist of the night. This car had become his office, his world, a small cocoon of loneliness and exhaustion. 58 years old, gray hair mingled with black, deep lines etched across his forehead, and eyes that had seen too much. Each gaze reflected a weight of experiences, of things that haunted him long after the day ended. Every moment of quiet drove the memory deeper, making the darkness around him feel heavier, more oppressive. Inside the car, cluttered with wrappers and forgotten cups, Andre rubbed his face with trembling fingers. Shadows in the rearview mirror hinted at shapes that weren't there. His mind wrestled with memories long buried, the ghosts of his past brushing against the present, almost tangible in the dim dashboard glow. Andre's eyes caught a flicker in the back seat, a shadow fleeting and distorted. He blinked, and it vanished, leaving only the cold fog swirling outside. The street light outside flickered, and the night seemed to grow colder, the air heavier with unseen presence. He opened the glove compartment slowly, revealing the symbols of a past life. His old police badge and a wrapped service pistol. The weight of years pressed on him, and for a moment, the metal glint reflected not just light, but memories of cases, regrets, and unfinished business. His hand hovered, uncertain, trembling with the weight of choices long deferred. The phone buzzed, a fare far higher than usual. The pickup location briefly flickered, showing a familiar address, his old home, but it corrected itself. The night pressed in around him, dark and quiet, as if waiting. The ordinary had turned strange, and his pulse quickened in anticipation of what was to come. The car rolled away from the curb, the street light above flickering twice before plunging the street into darkness. Empty roads stretched ahead, mist rolling across asphalt, headlights cutting a path into the unknown, and the city's usual hum was swallowed by the cold night. Andre drove through silent, deserted streets. Houses stood dark, windows unlit. A faint mist hovered, the dashboard clock glowing 11:03 p.m. The stillness weighed on him, each turn of the wheel echoing louder than it should. The city felt distant, and the night seemed endless, wrapping him in solitude. He arrived at an empty intersection, illuminated only by a dim streetlight. Fog coiled around the car, and the street appeared abandoned, as if time itself had paused. The isolation pressed in, a quiet that promised that what came next would not be ordinary. From the shadows beyond the light, a figure emerged, a young woman with long dark hair, pale skin, and a light jacket that seemed ill-suited for the chill. She moved unnaturally, gliding across the pavement as if gravity held no claim over her steps. The air grew colder with her approach, and an otherworldly presence filled the space around the car. She slid into the back seat, part of her face caught in the rearview mirror, shrouded in shadow. The car seemed to grow colder, the mist inside thickening. The quiet stretched, pregnant with the weight of unseen things, as if the very air held its breath. Andre turned up the heater, but warmth was fleeting. His breath fogged before him, mingling with the chill. The woman stared out the window, her features partially obscured by shadow, a subtle sadness lingering over her face. The streets outside were familiar, yet different, as though memory itself guided the path. As the streets narrowed and trees arched overhead like skeletal hands, Andre's pulse raced. The route mirrored one from a decade past, a path etched in memory with every corner and turn. The mist thickened, wrapping the car in eerie isolation. The past and present intertwined, dragging him deeper into unease. A sudden realization gripped him. Faces he couldn't save, choices he regretted, all pressed into the present moment. The woman's gaze, visible in the rearview mirror, held intensity, a reflection of his own haunted conscience. The car felt smaller, the cold sharper, as suspense coiled tight around his chest. Her face, illuminated briefly by her phone, seemed almost unreal. Soft, blurry, as if not fully present. The air turned colder still, subtle supernatural hints brushing his skin. The night pressed against him, hours and memories blending, time suspended. In the mirror, two images overlapped, one solid, one translucent. The ghostly form seemed to hover alongside her living self. Frost crept across the windows, and Andre's eyes widened in terror. The street outside disappeared into darkness, leaving only the impossible vision within the car. The car moved deeper into the outskirts. Trees arched overhead. Fog rolled across the empty street, and the headlights illuminated the unknown. Every turn drew him back into memory, a path carved by obsession, guilt, and unresolved cases. Emerging from the fog, a 6-story apartment building rose like a tombstone. Dark windows and peeling walls suggested decay, yet a single streetlight flickered. Silence enveloped the place, the air thick with anticipation and dread. Time seemed to have paused, holding its breath. The woman stepped from the car, her pale face revealed under dim light. Her sad eyes, faint smile, and the cold mist swirling at her feet left Andre frozen. She moved silently toward the building, her presence both ethereal and haunting, fading into darkness. Alone, Andre stared at the building. Only one window on the 6th floor glowed faintly. The rest of the structure was dark, as if holding secrets of a decade past. Mist curled around the car, and the clock read 11:47 p.m. Time itself felt suspended, waiting for something to happen. Andre opened the glove compartment. The badge gleamed, and his hand closed around the service gun. Reflections of his own determined, fearful face mirrored in the chrome. Years of training surged, old instincts rekindled. The night's silence weighed heavier, pushing him toward the unknown. A sudden gunshot split the night, echoing from the 6th floor. The faint light flickered violently. Silence returned instantly, more oppressive than before. Mist swirled through the street, carrying the tension in every curl of fog. The city seemed to hold its breath. Andre remained frozen in the car, gun in hand, breath fogging the cold air. Around him, nothing moved. No sound of panic, no reaction to the gunshot. The stillness was unnatural, pressing against him, demanding vigilance. Slowly, he stepped out of the car, gun held low but ready. The cold mist coiled around his legs. Behind him, the engine hummed quietly, the open door revealing a car suspended in time. Above, the 6th floor light flickered, guiding him into the unknown. Andre reached the front door of the building. Cold air rushed out as he opened it. The dark hallway beyond swallowed the light from outside. The faint flicker of an overhead light offered no comfort, only emphasizing the oppressive shadow within. He stepped inside. The door closed behind him with a soft thud, locking him in with the darkness. Faint mist curled around his feet, the corridor barely visible. Shadows and uncertainty stretched before him, welcoming him into a night where past and present converged, and the impossible waited. The lobby was cold, unnaturally cold, as if death itself lingered in the air. Dirty tiles cracked beneath years of neglect. Yellow lights buzzed above, flickering with uneasy rhythm. The scent of chemicals tried in vain to cover something far worse. Andre Morrison stood there, gun held low, his breath forming small clouds in the icy space. Every step felt heavier than the last. At the far end, the elevator waited, its doors open like a gaping mouth, polished metal reflecting a tired, gray-haired face. 6 buttons glowed faintly, flickering lights casting distorted shadows on the walls. The silence pressed against him like ice, a cold and oppressive weight. He stepped inside, pressing the button marked 6. The doors gleamed coldly, reflecting a man older than he remembered. Mist curled around his feet as the elevator began to rise, carrying him into memories he had long tried to forget. The polished metal doors reflected him, but not quite as he was. In the mirror, he wore his old police uniform, badge gleaming, gun belt strapped tight. His real clothes, jeans, jacket, remained unchanged. The reflection was a ghost of his past, staring silently, accusingly. By the 3rd floor, the reflection began to cry. Tears streamed down a face that was not his, twisted and wordless. He touched his own face. It was dry. The sobbing in the mirror felt impossibly real, the silent accusation filling the small metal box with cold despair. On the 4th floor, the reflection's lips moved, forming words without sound. He could read them clearly. "Why didn't you save her?" The question repeated, echoing in his mind. Every step higher was a step deeper into judgment, into regret, into a past he had tried to bury. At the 5th floor, the reflection aged. Wrinkles deepened, hair whitened, eyes sank into dark hollows. Flesh fell away, leaving only bone clothed in tattered remnants of uniform. He stared, unable to look away, witnessing the inevitability of time, of decay, of mortality. Then the skeleton vanished, replaced by her, the woman from the night ride, young, sad, and silent. Her gaze pierced him, and a chill ran down his spine. "Almost there," she seemed to say, in the quiet that filled the metal box. The elevator reached the 6th floor. The doors slid open, releasing a wave of cold that bit through his jacket. The hallway stretched endlessly, narrow and dark, walls peeling, ice forming along the edges. Flickering lights cast dancing shadows that seemed alive. He moved slowly down the corridor. 6 doors, all closed except one. Door 6C stood ajar, faint warm light spilling out. The cold intensified, ice crystals creeping along the wallpaper, making each step heavier than the last. He pushed the door wider and stepped inside. The room was not an apartment. It was his old office, preserved perfectly.
as though 10 years had never passed. Every scratch on the desk, every dent in the filing cabinet, every coffee stain brought back memories of a case that had haunted him for a decade.
The office smelled of old coffee and paper, a scent he hadn't breathed in years. The desk, the chair, the filing cabinet, all exactly as he remembered. Time had not touched this room, and yet it bore the weight of loss and failure. On the corkboard, her face stared back at him. Alice Chen, age 19, missing. Reports, maps, notes, all in his own handwriting, pinned and circled. A meticulous trail of obsession, of guilt, of failure. Every detail confronted him, every mistake laid bare. On the desk lay her belongings, a cracked cell phone frozen on her last message, her student ID, a cat-shaped keychain with pepper spray. Each object trembled in his hands as if the room itself were alive, pressing the weight of memory onto him. The case notes showed the descent from order to desperation. Day 1, meticulous. Day 10, chaotic, the handwriting jagged with panic. Every line screamed what he had tried to forget, the moments he waited, the moments he failed, the life that was lost under his watch. The tape recorder clicked on, static hissing, and then his own voice echoed back from 10 years past. Each word replayed the obsession, the guilt, the unbearable weight of the case. He could not turn away. The past had claimed him again. Memories crashed over him. Days of investigation, watching, hoping and waiting. Every decision, every hesitation, every protocol followed became chains that bound him to this room, to the ghost of a case he could never resolve. Fresh newspaper clippings told another story. His own disappearance, reported 3 months prior. The world had moved on while he remained trapped in this room, forced to witness the echo of his own fate. Andre's hands, translucent and fragile, hovered in disbelief. The line between life and death blurred, the office real yet spectral. He was no longer just a man confronting his past. He was trapped in a loop, a shadow of himself. And then he understood. The gunshot he heard was his own. The echo of his death, played over and over, had brought him here. Time had no meaning, and memory no mercy. He remained a witness to himself, endlessly trapped between past and present, between life and death. Andre spun around. In the doorway, a faintly glowing figure appeared. Misty edges, ethereal presence. The woman from his car, now the age she never reached, silently stood before him. Andre sank into the chair. His hands trembled. He saw through them, transparent, ghost-like. The room was stilled with cold mist. Time had trapped him. The clock read 11:54 p.m. He was dead. And for 3 months, this was his prison. Every night, the same hour repeated. The last hour of his life played on loop over and over. Each reset erased his memory, forcing him back into the cycle. This was Loop 92, his final chance. Andre's gaze fell on the cold metal gun on the desk. A thought crossed his mind. Could he undo the past by repeating the act of death? The ice-cold metal pressed against his temple. The room held its breath. His hand shook uncontrollably, finger brushing the trigger. Ghostly reflections of himself danced across the desk. Shadows stretched unnaturally.
The weight of guilt was palpable, almost tangible. The clock ticked forward, 11:57 p.m., 3 minutes until midnight. Each second carried the tension of eternity. Papers fluttered, walls trembled slightly, as though the building itself waited for him to act. Andre's eyes scanned the corkboard, past failures pinned and layered. Faint ghostly reflections overlaid him, reminders of 10 years of regret. The cold mist thickened, swirling around the room, suffocating yet compelling. Slowly, Andre let the gun drop to the desk. Trembling shook his body. Warm light began to seep into the dim room, subtle but insistent. The first sign of freedom through forgiveness. He closed his eyes. Tentative peace began to form. The office quivered, papers lifted slightly. Ethereal Alice radiated calm warmth beside him. His body relaxed, and the weight of guilt loosened. Walls, furniture, and shadows dissolved into brilliant golden light. Andre and Alice solidified, glowing warmly. Freedom replaced the oppressive supernatural mist. The horror of the past melted away. Hand in hand, they walked toward the golden light. Faint silhouettes of loved ones lingered in the background. Pain, guilt, and regret were left behind. Andre moved forward, finally free. Weeks later, a rideshare driver navigated the empty suburban streets. The GPS led her to an overgrown lot. No building, no passenger. Silence hung heavy in the night. For a split second, the rear-view mirror revealed a 6-story building, dark and lifeless, with one flickering light on the 6th floor. Then it vanished, leaving only the empty lot behind. Her phone screen flickered. Words appeared briefly. "Thank you for your service. 1 ride completed. 91 to go." And then, nothing. The night resumed its quiet calm. From the unseen lot, faint as a memory, the distant ding of an elevator reaching the 6th floor echoed once, and then silence. Everything returned to the stillness of night.